Everybody, welcome back to another episode review of the haves and the have-nots. Ugh, hair looks a mess. Sorry about that. I'm getting on here doing the review now. Before I forget to do it, I've got to go out a little bit later and do some errands, so I'm doing it now so I don't miss the review. So let's get right into it. So Hannah, she pulls a knife on Derek. And he's acting so like, I guess clueless is the word you could use. He's like, you know, he doesn't seem to understand why Hannah does not want to see him. He acts like it's just something that's easy to get past, as if he just, as if he just, stole some money from her and apologized for it. Something like that, where it's something that you could truly get past. And he seems to be conflating forgiveness with, Hannah wanting to be around him. And it's like, just because somebody forgives you does not mean they want you in their life. I mean, that's not what forgiveness is about. It's not, about just forgetting and, letting someone into your life. And he won't leave. He won't leave. And she's saying, leave. She's called the police. She's called 911. And he acted like he was going to leave, and she told 911 like forget it, and then he was going to stay, and then she had to tell him no, I need help, and he was not leaving. He just kept messing around there, and she was um she was not having it. She was ready to defend herself, and she had no qualms about calling the police. Um, and he's saying, "I've changed, I've changed, I've changed," and she's like, "Oh well, do you know God? Do you want to see God? If you come back here again, I'm gonna make sure you see Him." So Hannah was not playing around. And so they're going back and forth, and he's trying to talk to her. He said, "I got something to say to you." And I'm like, Derek, if you really care about Hannah, you will leave her alone. That's what I was thinking. He's saying that he's acting like he cares about her, and I'm like, if you really do care about her, you will leave her alone, respect her wishes for you to leave her alone. And so he when he finally leaves, the police have arrived. And he's looking at Hannah like for her to say something. And that's right, she fired him. She has the power of attorney, so she went ahead and fired him. So he had no excuse to come back there. And he's looking at Hannah for help, and she's like, he used to work here. She didn't say what he did to her, but you know, she's like, he used to work here. And so the cops, they're real nasty, and they want to see his ID, and they run his ID, and he has a warrant out for an assault. So um, he's taken away in the police car. Um, so Jim, and I'm over Jim. I mean, he's so annoying at this point. Um, so Jim, he wants to leave the hospital. The doctor's telling him it's not a good idea, but he wants to go anyway. So the doctor's like, fine, whatever. And so after Jim gets dressed and all of that, um he ends up getting into it with Celine's son in the hallway. And but before that happened, Celine's son was saying, "Well, why didn't you tell me about the eviction notice?" And she's like, "Well, I've got it taken care of. I've got it taken care of." And clearly she doesn't. And I forgot what her son's name is. And so Jim shows up in the hallway, and they get into it, and And Jim's like, "You're lucky I didn't call the police on you for that stunt you pulled." And I'm like, Jim was not going to call the police because he was too embarrassed that he was afraid of a fake gun. Um, and Jim's just his usual nasty self, and he don't care nothing about his children with Celine, not one single care. And so then Celine gets called into the office, her supervisor's office, and he tells her, "Well, you harassed Jim Cryer," and she's like, um, she's afraid she's gonna get fired. She said, "No, no, no, please don't fire me. I can't lose this job." And the supervisor, he's like, "Well, um, he wanted you fired, but I'm not gonna fire you. You just have to stay away from him." And that was that. And Celine, she just she just got nothing out of the whole thing with Jim. I mean, obviously she acts like she loved him, and she was getting more out of the she was feeling more from their entanglement, if you will, than Jim was. And so obviously she was not squirreling away any money like a lot of mistresses or people cheating with a rich person. She was not squirreling away any money. She was not, like making sure she had that nest egg, and she had kids by Celine's a mess. So, uh, okay, so Jim goes to see Wyatt, and Wyatt puts on this whole act like, "I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad." And Jim is like skeptical, obviously. And so they have a conversation, and then Jim leaves, and Wyatt's like, he's like, "I didn't mean it." He's like, he obviously hates Jim, and he didn't mean it. Uh, and then on to more with Jim. He still has his plans in to kill Veronica, and he wants Jeffrey to go see Wyatt, so he asked David to contact Jeffrey. And so Jeffrey, he's over there at Madison's place, and they're in bed, and Jeffrey's like staring at Madison, like, and I'm like, "So are you are you cuckoo like Justin too?" Because the way he was staring at Madison, and I know that people will look moody at a person they're involved with sometimes. But it just came off as a little creepy that Madison is asleep and Jeffrey is staring at him like that. Like, I'm like, no, no. That was too much, too much. And so David calls Jeffrey, and he's like, "Am I interrupting something?" And Madison laughs. And so David tells Jeffrey, he wants him to go see Wyatt. So Jeffrey sneaks in to see Wyatt, and you know, Wyatt tells Jeffrey, "Oh, well, I'm trying to play nice so I can get into rehab. Play the victim, I can get into rehab." And he figures he can get Jim to drop the charges if he pretends that he really cares about him. Um, and Wyatt, he is, he really is not here for Jeffrey. He's just like, "I don't want to be your friend anymore," and all of that. And Jeffrey's all like, "Well, don't try to call me. I've changed my number." And Wyatt's like, "Mine's changed too." And then Jeffrey comes back, "Yeah, to a prison number." And and one thing that I wish was addressed on this show, and this could be the final season, and I don't know how that's gonna go, but I wish that they had addressed what Jeffrey did to Wyatt in the first season, because he's the one that got him all, unraveled in the first place. He was off of drugs, and he was trying to stay that way, and his girlfriend came back, and she may have been able to keep him on track. And but Jeffrey messed that up, and both times that Wyatt has ended up sober, um it's involved, him going off the rails again, has involved a woman, because the lady from the rehab, she slept with Wyatt, and then she left him a note. Well, I shouldn't have done this. It's unprofessional. I can't see you anymore. So he went off the rails again. So both times that Wyatt has gone off the rails, it really has, you know, or relapsed. It has involved a woman. And the first time it was Jeffrey that caused that. And, so I don't know why Jeffrey is angry, because he's the one that got Wyatt, messed up. And basically, I think Jeffrey had boiled the friendship down to, oh, you be with me in the way that I want you to, or I don't want to be your friends. He had copped an attitude with Wyatt a while ago. Anyway, let's get on to. So Jim, he goes to see Catherine, and she's coming in. She's like, "How's Wyatt?" And Jim gets kind of indignant. He's like, "Well, what about me? I'm fine. How am I?" And I'm like, "Jim, come on. I mean, Wyatt is her only child, her only living child. So of course she's going to be concerned about him and not you, who she can barely tolerate." I mean, she did seem a little upset when Jim first got shot and all that, and I'm like, I think she cares more about Jim than he cares about her. They're a mess. So, their conversation was just a back and forth. They basically were just sniping at each other. And so over there at the house, David brings Jim home, and basically David is acting like his manservant. And I'm like, this is getting a little bit too, I don't want to quite say slavish, but I'm feeling some kind of way about it, because it's coming off a little bit like, "Yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir. Boy, do this. Get me that. Boy, get." And he had David pouring him a drink and all of that, um, and then David sitting up scheming with him, how to get Catherine's money. Oh, get the power of attorney. And at one point, David was even suggesting to kill Catherine, and Jim's like, "No, I'm not taking Catherine out." So, as much as he doesn't care for Catherine, Jim's not gonna do that. And I'm like, David is, he's just completely out of line there, and also for telling Jim to get control of Catherine's money. And so they go upstairs. David helps him upstairs, and Hannah's in there doing some she's on the laptop or whatever. She's still trying to figure everything out. And so that's how the episode ended. And they're gonna try to bully Hannah into doing what they want, but Hannah has something for David. We saw in the preview that she definitely has something for David, and is not here for his mess. So that was the haves and the have-nots for this week. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. This could be the last season. I am not sure about that, how that's gonna go, but really, I do think it's time to wrap things up with this one. I think, for the most part, it's run its course, and a lot of the storylines are, a little bit repetitive. Some stuff has been dropped, but if it's the last season, I think it's probably the right time to wrap up. it will be, if it goes in the next year, it'll been, the show has been on 8 years. So that's a pretty good run. But anyway, let me know what you think, and I will see you the next time. Bye.